Hi everybody, it's Veroosh. Welcome to my channel. I'm excited to be here with you guys for this full moon video. I'm sorry I'm putting it out in this late fashion. I don't know if you've been watching my tarot talk, which is another channel. It's linked in the description if you want to go check it out. But I've been sick this week. I sound pretty terrible, but I'm fine. So it's just like a cold. And one other thing that I want to mention is that because of previous chronic issues with my health as a child, I was sick a lot with kind of different types of throat illnesses and lung illnesses. I cough a lot when I get sick like this, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. So if you hear me cough today, or if you hear my voice start to sound weird, it has to do with prior chronic issues with health. In fact, I'm feeling really good. Today was weird though. Somebody was saying on TikTok, "Are you guys tired? Are you guys tired?" And I'm like, no, I'm not tired. I feel great. I'm annoyed that I'm sick, but that's about it. And lo and behold, this morning I got up to start doing this video for you guys. And then I'm like, it's too early because I got up at like 5 a.m. And so by 7, I was like, I can still sleep for an hour or two and then get back up and keep working. And I went to sleep and I woke up at 1 p.m. It's not my regular practice, but I must have been not getting my full sleep this week while I was sick. So I guess I needed it today. So because of this, I'm going to do this video in our classic style. Again, we're limited by daylight, which is ending here in Canada. So maybe today we're just going to get through the astrology. If it's bright enough, we'll do some tarot for the collective, and then we'll come back and do individual videos for all of you. So yeah, I hope you guys are well. Don't be afraid of my voice. Also, if you want a reading with me, my site is still down, but there's going to be an improvement with that very soon. I figured out what I want to do. It's just a matter of doing it. Of course, getting sick this week set me back. But if you do want a reading with me, there'll be a link in the description. Hold on, I need to cough. I don't want to scare anyone, so I'm going to turn off my mic. Okay, so if you want a reading with me, go into the description. There's a direct link to a place where you can get a reading with me, and you can do that. Okay, so what I was saying is it was funny that I heard someone talking about being tired, and I wasn't tired at all in here. I just crashed. And I like when I crash. I feel bad that I wasn't able to do this video for you guys sooner. But I like knowing that my body just forced itself to get the sleep it needs, and I feel great. So I sound terrible, but I feel great, and I hope you guys are well too. So I just need to tell you, I needed to say this up front so that no one is afraid, or I'm not worrying anybody. Okay, so that's the preamble. So why don't we talk about the astrology first? And if we run out of time, i.e. if it gets too dark, then we can do the tarot portion tomorrow. Of course, Venus retrograde is starting today, tomorrow too, so there's a lot of things going on. But let's focus on this full moon. I think it's a cool full moon, and that's why I'm actually doing this video. I would have just ignored it and not done it had it not been a cool one. But I think it's like a well-needed break that's happening at this time, and I'll explain to you why I say that. And I call the video "You're Off the Hook" because the current astrology is giving you a break. It's giving you a break from all these intense decisions about where things are going and how to decide. You know, like life has become very intense for people. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of power being wielded over our heads, and we're being taken out of agreements that we've had with people or with like institutions above us, and they're changing the rules of the game, and many of us are struggling with positioning us with these changed rules for with ulterior motives and like all layers of funky stuff, right? So it's an intense climate where as individuals we struggle to figure out where we need to be successful, and what we've needed to do up until this point to be successful is not necessarily the things that we need to do moving forward in a big scheme of things. This is the energy of 2021, 2022, 2023. There's definitely a push to change the status quo. And those of us who have been, like, if you are told the rules of the game and you play the game according to the rules, and then suddenly mid-game someone says, well, actually the rules are changed, and and suddenly you have to play by different rules, that's difficult to deal with. And that's what I think is happening. And I don't think that it's a consensus, and that's a problem, because it's very much from one group of people telling other people how to change, right? And so it's not consensus, it's not from authority, it's not a mandate, it's just there's a push towards, there's a new power structure that's evolving, and we're being told to comply, okay? So without getting too political, that's I think the main stuff of what's going on in the world for the last 4 years, including moving forward. It's actually been going on for the last 20 years, but it's accelerating now. So the point is, I think that if you're struggling, and this is, I guess, end of the year type reading, so there's a lot of thoughts I have and reflective thoughts about what's going on for us all together. I think that's where most of us are struggling, and I think that this is where it's unfair for many people, and I think that that's also where that's where there's a disconnect between what's really going on and the propaganda narratives that are being used to gaslight our experiences, to keep us from being able to gaslight our truth, right? And they're saying these rules that you've been playing by no longer matter, and now you have to play by these new rules, and your position in them has completely changed. And there's been for a democratic society, which I think most of you are from, it's a very kind of difficult position to be in, because suddenly you're not a democracy. Suddenly you're being told things by people who you didn't tell to tell you things. And so and on behalf of people who are not a part of your group or cohort, right? And so, and also, before it sounds like I'm a right-leaning, I'm nonpartisan. It's not, and the thing that, as a minority, the part that offends me about everything that's going on is that they're using minority rights in order to gaslight these narratives. And I don't believe that they're for actually the benefit of minorities. I think they're using that kind of language, the human rights driven narratives, in order to bolster their financial and power interests. So as a minority watching what's going on, you may also feel very offended or upset by the fact that they're exploiting our realities in order to make more power for themselves. So that's the preamble with regard to what I think is going on in the world. And there's lots of different things going on. However, I feel like for the majority of us, an aspect of this shift, this new world order, is what's impacting us. And it, as individuals, especially individuals in the middle class, it's not making life better, right? So it's confusing, distorting what we've been promised has been changed, and our hopes and our the things we've been working for have been taken away from us and funneled to other circumstances, other businesses, people, all these different things, without much mandate, without much agreement, democratic agreement. So it's frustrating for people who have worked or who do work, who struggle, who push against the things that are real around us, and who keep on getting knocked down and their value taken away from them, so that there could be this reorganization of power and stratification of power to people who have wealth and to express wealth more, to get more wealth. Okay, so that's what I think the problem is, that individual people are losing their ability, and there's this dishonest conversation that we're having about human rights, and using human rights in order to reinforce the wealthy and corporate interests. Okay. But this full moon is a break from that. So as you're trying to figure out on what you're going to do with all this, it could feel very overwhelming or tiresome and bothersome for you. However, this full moon is different. The full moon is happening at 27 degrees of Gemini, and the sun is, of course, opposite the moon at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, if you like alternative astrology approaches, 27 degrees is where the galactic center is. So this is where Sagittarius A star is, the black hole at the center of our galaxy. And so this is considered, a very potent, powerful position. If you have placements in this position, it's a very powerful spot. The moon, however, is in Gemini at 27 degrees. Let's start with the stars. So the moon is very close to Polaris, which is the current North Star. And it's also somewhat close to Betelgeuse, which is another star. It's at 29:35 minutes of Gemini. And so these two stars are very powerful. Polaris, particularly in Chinese astrology, is a very benefic placement. I don't really pay attention to the negative interpretation of Polaris. I do think it's a beautiful star. I think anything that's the pole star must signify something beautiful. So I connect with the Chinese interpretation of the star way more than other traditions. And so it's a point of ascension. It's a point of higher thinking. It's a point of the thing that connects all of us together. The pole star, meaning that is the star over top of the North Pole, right? So and these stars changed. If you watched my most recent video, these stars changed, and in the past it was different stars, but now it's Polaris. Hold on, let me clear my throat. I'm not sick, remember. Okay, so I'm fine. Well, I am a little bit sick, but it's not dramatic like it sounds. It sounds worse than it is. And so Betelgeuse is another cool star that's set to explode in some near time. It's the star that astronomers are watching for an explosion. And when it explodes, it's going to be huge. So last year or the year before, there was some indication that it was going to go supernova, and that was exciting. But Betelgeuse is also a star of power. It gives just like an elevated position to everything that's near it. I do want to say, however, because I keep on seeing people invoke stars with 5-degree orbs, 6-degree orbs, whatever, I think you should be very careful with how you use fixed star astrology. Even with Betelgeuse, it's a little bit far for me to feel like it's a part of this full moon. Polaris is just over a degree away from this full moon, so it's more appropriate, but Betelgeuse is getting to like 2 degrees away, which to me seems a little bit too generous for this event, okay? But it's still there. It's kind of like everything's in a, how do you say? Everything's relevant, or everything's sort of like the intensity increases as it gets closer to the exact position. But these stars are there. This is with Sagittarius A star, the black hole at the center of the universe. The sun is there. And so there's a real position of strength here, of ascension, But it's interesting to kind of take a look at this, because it's not actually, how do you say this? This alignment is strong. So what I'm trying to say is this alignment is very strong. This alignment is elevating us. It's giving us an ability to see higher perspectives. I wasn't intending on telling you guys the political thing before, but like in the intro, but something in me just intuitively said, explain it this way. Because I think that basically this full moon is allowing us a heightened perspective so as to what's going on for us. But there's an element of detachment from the consequences, from where things are going, from having to make decisions about which direction you need to go. And so that's a really beautiful aspect of this full moon. So you're like a reserved observer of your own life, and you have the ability to see things with a little bit of distance, with a little bit of discernment, and that will help you to catch a break. And so the reason this is happening is that the sun is quincux the north node, which is about to enter into Taurus, and the moon is quincux the south node, which is about to enter into Scorpio. So in other words, these types of angles, these 150-degree angles, they cause a lack of communication between the transit and the aspect that it's forming. The north node represents where we are going and the greater narrative that we're a part of. So all that stuff that I was talking about in the beginning, what's going on, how the rules have changed, where are we going, that's all stuff concerning the North Node in Gemini, how everything has changed. And so because there's a quincux, because there's these angles in which the moon and the sun don't see necessarily the respective nodes, it's almost like shutting the door, or, you know, when people say, go home and leave work at work and go home and enjoy your day. It's that same energy. So it's not that those other things that are going on are not happening, but it does mean that for this time, at this time, you get a break from having to deal with that and focus on something else for a few days. So it's nice. It's a nice energy. So it gives you a break. Okay, that's a good way to explain it. To add to that, there's a very boisterous energy, a positive, boisterous energy. And that is positive aspects to Jupiter from the moon and the sun. The sun is forming a sextile to Jupiter, while Jupiter forms a trine to the moon. And so Jupiter at this time is actually on a square to the nodes. I talked about this on Tarot Talk, so go and watch the video if you want to know more. But the Jupiter is forming a square to the nodes at this time. And so it is also on a friction energy with our life path, progression, themes in our lives, and so forth. And so it naturally will respond better to the sun and the moon, as opposed to something that's not working right now very well anyway, swimming against the grain in terms of destiny and questions to do with that. In other words, if you try to resolve your life in some fundamental way at this time, you might find that there's a lot of opposition, there's a lot of swimming against the current sort of thing. But in terms of elevating your thoughts or ideas about the current set of circumstances, you have a lot of power tonight. The full moon is tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific. Sorry, I didn't say that in the intro. So even now, earlier today, you have a lot of potential to elevate and to elevate your thinking about who you are, about what you want, about understanding things, and look at all those other things to the side and really understand them for what they are. Gemini is very like fact-based, so it's like matter of fact. These are the facts, fact-checking yourself. All the garbage, all the gaslighting kind of gets pushed away, and you're like, well, that's the problem. The problem is that the rules have changed and no one really agreed to it collectively, and where do we have, like, the fundamental change of rules, it goes against what we've been promised or agreed to. So it's like a break of a contract kind of thing. And so we'll figure out how people deal with that, you know, as time goes on. But that's essentially what's going on. There's a break of an understanding between systems of power in society. And so you get a really good opportunity this full moon to not have to deal with where things are going. And these things are very active at this time with the node switching signs. And you get to focus on, like, you get clarity on who you are and what's important for you. What's your priorities? It's kind of like, I don't give a crap about what other people are on about. You're less subject to be influenced. You're more stronger, and you have a greater ability to see what's important for you and stick to that. So Jupiter will only expand that further and give you further strength to empower yourself. And this is a nice full moon, I will say. So it's kind of a tangent. It's kind of a sidebar. It's something not necessarily in the crux of things. Okay, we could go, I'll tell you guys just quickly, just in case you're interested. I'm going over a lot of things succinctly because I want to fit in maybe a little bit of tarot before it gets dark. But just so you know, the third decan of Gemini is traditionally ruled by the sun. And the sun, as you know, is with Sagittarius A star, the black hole at the center of our galaxy. So this is a very powerful interaction between the moon and the sun. Likewise, if you're 27-degree Gemini placement or 27-degree Sagittarius placements, that's very good for you at this time. So that's strong. In the modern schema, Uranus is the ruler of the third decan. It's on a semi-square to this position. So that means that in some way it's less of a focus on the new and more of a focus on reflecting on what's tried and true. Further to this, Uranus and Saturn are on their third square this year. And so there is a tussle between the old and the new. But again, this is the part that you don't have to deal with right now, so that's okay. So you get a break from that. That's great. If you want to know more about this square, go to Tarot Talk. I talked about that there. And then further to this, Uranus is on a trine to Mercury. And Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. And so therefore, there's a really good opportunity for new conversations about things. In other words, without getting too long-winded, because this is already running late, rather than focusing on, excuse me, hold on, let me clear my throat. Okay, so rather than how do you say this? Oh shoot, the cough made me forget. Okay, hold on. So Uranus and Mercury are on a trine. Oh, right. So rather than focusing tonight or the next little while, when you're asking me of timing, it's really heightened tonight, but will continue in the following days. Rather than focus on the end result, maybe focus on what's coming through for you as a fundamental truth about what's important for you. To add to this Uranus-Mercury trine is very good for communication with other people. In other words, taking a break and going in another direction with someone else and liaising or interacting with them in a certain way, and having a fun conversation that may actually produce a very wonderful outcome. So, okay, I haven't done one of these videos in a while, so explaining all this can be a little messy, but those are some of the biggest aspects concerning the full moon. So in other words, whatever's been stressing you out about life, yeah, there's some power plays that are going on that are intense and that are intense, and they're overwhelming for the average person like you and me. And there's a lot of, whenever shifts like this happen, there's always like people scheming, right? How can I exploit this new system before anybody notices? So don't get overwhelmed by people doing that. This happens every single time. Things will even out. Hold on. Things will even out, and things will become fair for everybody sooner or later. Right now, with this full moon, I would say focus on what is your truth in whatever is going on in your life. And then also reach out to friends, reach out to people with whom you can have fun with, and maybe embrace the unexpected, have an alternative conversation, have just openness towards a different type of experience without the pressure of it having to come into anything in and of itself. So just go have fun, go enjoy yourselves, go try to break things up, and, just take a break. Okay. So that's what I think this full moon is about. It's a little bit of a tangent from the other astrological features that are going on. Overall, the astrology is very intense. There's a lot of shifts right now. We've had an overwhelmingly Aquarian year, and now it's switching into water. So we'll talk about that soon. And yes, it's a very interesting shift, but this full moon isn't necessarily a part of that. So, okay. So why don't we do a little bit of tarot before it gets really dark outside. It's not dark yet, but it's going to get dark in a few minutes. So let me see what kind of cards I get for you guys. So first energy is the King of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. Secondary transits in fire, Sag, Leo, or Aries. 10 of Cups. Open-heartedness. I think it's a reminder. I think this full moon is also a reminder of the noise and the chatter with all this change. People scheming, people trying to manipulate the system so they get more out of it for themselves at the expense of others. The more you listen to those people that are scheming and plotting, and the more you get influenced by that chatter, like the birds in the Lenormand card. At the end of the day, get in touch with what's good. They have not taken you. They have not taken what's inside your heart. And the amount of energy that you invest in people running around and saying whatever they have to say, the amount of energy that you invest in that chit chat, the just talking, just wasting time and talking, the more you will be displaced from your truth. And I think this full moon, that's a better way to say it. Don't get so invested in what they're saying. Stupid people talk a lot, right? So let them talk, let them banter, let them do what they're going to do. You can't stop it anyway. It's screaming at the ocean. They will have consequences for what they're doing if they're doing something that's unfair. The other thing is not to be complacent to it. So I'm by no means saying just put up with it. But I'm saying use your energy wisely and don't feel intimidated by their ignorant behavior, right? So at the core here, I love these two cards together. It's reminding me that there's so much wealth that you guys have in love, family, and people who you care about. Don't allow them to overshadow that. This is what really matters, not what they're propagating. There's a lot of people with unethical power in the world right now. People who have gotten into power through nepotism, through like people who are just not very smart, honestly. And I don't think of myself as better than other people, but objectively, when we look at many of the people who have authority in our lives, they're not like people who have like great valor or strength of character, who are very moral, or they're just sort of like dumb, opportunistic, and lucky to be in the position they are, aren't they? They're not very strong characters. They're not people who have fought for what they have. They're people who have often received what they have, and now they are sort of dealing with it. So why would you let people like that intimidate you? Yes, they have positions of power, but people of those dispositions, people like that, usually can't hold on to that power for very long, because people of virtue and valor will come in and say, you're an idiot, you have to go. So bide your time until such a time as people of your virtue come to their senses. Their only advantage, people who are doing this to us, their only advantage is that they had power, and now they're trying to act in a speedy fashion to change things, to reinforce more power for themselves, right? So now their only advantage is they're trying to do the fast game. Like, they're trying to do things quickly. So don't feel like this is the end of the world. That's what I'm saying. I feel like they're much less powerful than you think they are. And I think they're much less capable. And you need to look at them, not like with a narcissist. You don't look at a narcissist and say, oh, there's a powerful person there. You look at a narcissist and say, most narcissists are very underwhelming people. They're not particularly smart. They're not particularly good looking. Some are, because they spend so much money on their appearance. But the thing is that most narcissists are pretty average people. It's their ego that drives them to narcissism, right? But the point is that you want to look at these people that are manipulating things in the same way that you would a narcissist. An underwhelming coward that's taking advantage, right? You have to look, not in a negative way, look down at them, but look down at the behavior. They're being sneaky, and they're not as powerful and intimidating and, overwhelming as they're puffed up. They want you to feel intimidated, so don't feel intimidated. Because what matters is love, what matters is real connections, and don't let them shame you away from having those and reinforcing that, okay? So there's definitely a lot of love around you at this time. And yeah, of course, narcissism, right, Bari? Narcissism stems from insecurity. A lot of these things, racism, narcissism, anybody taking power unlawfully or in a corrupt way, it usually is because of deep insecurity. So we have the 7 of Wands, and it's a manipulation, all that. So what I'm saying is, don't freak out that this is happening. We will have to act sooner or later, but you don't have to feel like it's over and they've won. They're just doing what sneaky people do. They all do it once a generation. Something like this happens, and these lame people try to mess things up for everybody else so they can have more for themselves. It happens. So we'll be dealing with that moving forward for the next 20 years, but for now, don't worry. 7 of Wands, and sometimes it's good that it happens, because sometimes it's happening behind the scenes covertly for so long. So, it's in a certain way, it's good that it's happening, because it could have continued for far longer without it being recognized. And so now we're at least talking about the issue. Okay, so 7 of Wands. This is a very nice card. And then we have the the Knight of Pentacles. I want to see all the 5 cards I want to put down for you. How are you guys? How is the light? Is this okay? And then we have the 2 of Wands. Well, I think that somebody is giving you some kind of good energy. There's good energy coming from an authority source. This energy from Uranus is really good right now. Connecting with friends. Receiving from other people positive energy, connect with people who care about you and who you care about, people who are strong in their disposition. This will give you strength up against whatever you're facing, whatever your circumstance, whatever bully you're up against, because they're bullying us, right? Whatever bully you're up against, stand up for yourself And know that when we're feeling bullied, we can feel very alone. And that's part of this whole lie, this whole scheme, right? But the point is, there's much more people who are feeling bullied than the bulliers, right? So it's a perception thing, which means that you're in a much better position than you think so, but they gain power by making you feel like you are in a worse position than you are, because then you're more apt to go along with what they're trying to push on you. And, like I said, I'm politically neutral. I'm not talking about one over the other. This is an overall observation, right? So this isn't, anything to do with that. This may be like interpersonally. There's people scheming, scammers, right? They're scheming. And this is, I think, a lot of you in this. So you kind of get your wits about yourself. And I think this is signaling that you're about to take a new direction, and you're going to be up against some things that you're going to have to resolve and figure out moving forward. So you're up against the great unknown. So not everything is clear, not everything is picture perfect, but you're getting a good pat on the back, and be patient. Allow all this to transform. With all these transits that are happening right now, Jupiter in Pisces, nodes into Taurus and Scorpio, Venus retrograde, Venus conjunct Pluto until the end of December. All of these different transits, Uranus and Saturn square. There's going to be a lot of changes around us. And when there's a lot of change, it's best to be patient with whatever this change is creating. So if it helps your anxiety, because there's so many transits that are shifting things around at this time, you don't have to necessarily make decisions yet. You need to go through what's going on and figure out your decision. You have to go and figure out which direction you truly want, right? Okay, so a couple more cards, but it is getting dark. So we have 7 of Cups. That's what I think this full moon is. Is this good? Is this good, you guys who are alive? Hi, everyone. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. The Knight of Swords, Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. See, there's the schemers. See, they benefit from causing confusion, and they're trying to manipulate things, Knight of Swords. So don't worry about that. And, sometimes we let schemers close in. 6 of Cups, Sun in Scorpio. Sometimes we let scammers in close. Be it we hire them for our business, or we rent a room out to them, or something else. And the proximity becomes an issue, right? How they become your friend. And so the difference that I'm picking up here is the scammers, they don't have the same power because you don't have them close. And now you see them for what they are, so they have even less power. So whoever's scamming you, whoever's being manipulative, it's not the same as it was before. So if you're feeling triggered, if you're feeling trauma from all this, it's not the same as it was when they were close, when they were your employee, when they were your roommate, when they were your friend and you were trusting them. They don't know that much about you. So let them scam, but you know where their place is, and you are not stuck in that proximity issue. Yeah, I can see just fine. And then we have Sun in Scorpio, which is happiness, finding joy and happiness for yourself. I think it's like a sign of the great unknown. Capricorn, don't get scared because Capricorn season is starting. That's not a bad aspect of what's going on. And then we have the 4 of Swords, which is rest. So, okay, so it's kind of like what I said when we have Temperance, which is nice. It's saying this is like an angel. It's Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. If you don't, sorry guys, I'm not trying to be religious or anything, but here's the point. So you're off in a different direction. Don't get caught up with what is. I think this is what this is saying. don't get caught up with what is. You're going in a different direction anyway. Knight of Pentacles is going over there. And I think that you're going to be in environments that are going to have new questions and new information that you are going to have to deal with anyway. And so you don't need to worry. Anxiety is like being worried about the future, right? So don't worry about the future because you don't know what's there yet. Worry for it when it happens, right? Deal with it when it happens. But it looks like you're going in a different direction away from environments, and I think you're being set on the right path. I think this Knight is very powerful. They have everything they need, so you have everything you need to get to where you are going. And cross that bridge when it comes to it, and it's not going to surprise you. Nothing's going to blindside you. Your best bet is to approach the future carefully, methodically. You don't have to rush. Just take steps towards building in a good direction. Okay? So I hope this is helpful. This is more stream of thought, consciousness type of a reading because I wasn't able to do that one as I explained at the beginning. But I hope you guys are well. I'll be back more. Just as a sidebar, I was planning on putting out videos all week, and then I just came down with this cold. And I haven't been sick like this, for probably since I've had the channel, so whatever. I've had other health stuff go on, right? Like we all do, but this was, like a typical, like me in bed, just not being able to walk around and sleeping a lot. So anyway, I'm fine, and I hope you guys are having a good holiday season. I think what I'm trying to tell you is don't worry so much. Bad people try to intimidate. So don't internalize, because all they're doing is trying to get more for themselves. So they're foolish. They're foolish, and they're completely a waste of time. By believing in them, you're making them stronger. So rather than that, focus on the good people in your life. Focus on the good relationships, on the future, on your own skills and abilities, which are many. So it's time to move forward in a new direction and know this is how karma works, right? In a grand scale. Even though something feels extremely unfair right now, there will be a way for it to resolve in the future. And you can't control how and when it will resolve, but when it does, and if you ever hear about it, because you may not hear about it, but when it does, then you will get your closure. And whatever, if something's really unfair and unjust happening around you now, if you're being stripped of your rights, or if you're getting pushed around by someone, know that first of all, try not to let it happen. But if you don't have any control over it, know that it's better to wait for an opportune time to respond than to react in the moment, right? So when the right time comes, then you will have a good response and you will get further than, it's better than sticking around in a bad environment. Okay, so wishing you guys all the best. I miss you guys a lot. And if you want more Veroosh, then go to Tarot Talk in the description. There's 2 videos there that are